Well, folks, it's been a tough go in the last little bit for news coming out from some of our favorite tennis players on the ATP. As you've already seen, Roger Federer, Rafa Nadal, and Dominic Thiem have all ended their 2021 seasons early due to some pretty serious injuries. So we're going to take a look at Federer's injury, has another knee surgery that's been announced, Nadal's foot injury that's been, going throughout his career, but it's really gotten bad this year. And then Thiem's random wrist injury that just happened at Mallorca. So we're going to take a look at what these injuries are, what they mean for their careers going forward. And we're just going to have a bit of a sob fest because it's depressing seeing these three guys not be able to compete on tour. Three of the biggest stars, 41 Grand Slams combined between the three of them. 40 if you take out Thiem. But still, it's depressing. Let's get into these injuries, and I'll give you guys an update on what I've seen. Well, thanks for being here, folks. Thanks for checking out The Slice. If you're new here, make sure you hit the subscribe button. The Slice is where we cover professional tennis. We cover the biggest players, the smaller players, everyone in between. Check us out on Instagram and Twitter and theslicetennis.com for updates all the time. So, yeah, like we've seen, these three guys, massive stars, Federer, Nadal, two of the all-time GOATs, Thiem, just one of the most electric tennis players on planet Earth, have all just had their 21 seasons ended now by their injuries, which is just brutal. And, it's just brutal in general because COVID came at such a bad time for tennis. It was obviously never a good time for anything, but you really feel like if you look back on 2019, all three of these guys, Nadal, Federer, and Thiem, were playing really well at different points through there. And Djokovic was obviously playing well, and Medvedev and Tsitsipas, Zverev were coming into their own a lot more. And you feel like that was like the best tennis has been in a while. And then COVID hit, and it just hasn't really been the same since it's come back. None of the players have been, or not all of the players have been together, playing well together again. And this is just another hamper on this. With Federer now, Nadal, and Thiem announcing that their season is done because of their injury. So what do we know? Federer obviously took a super long time getting into the 2021 season because of two arthroscopic knee surgeries in 2020 before COVID, like right when COVID hit. So he had been out for a super long time and slowly came back into it, being cautious, wasn't going super smoothly, but he did end up making it to the fourth round of the French Open and to the quarterfinals of Wimbledon after basically playing like 4 matches in like a year and a half. So that's, to me, was a good sign going into that, just seeing his level there and seeing some of the players he beat. And I was like, well, that's a good stepping stone going forward. Obviously, at the end of Wimbledon, it was not looking great for him, getting bageled by Hubert Hurkacz. He never looked fully back to himself, obviously, but he's being very private with the injury. You never know if that's the knee or if that's just rust or what it is. But then he pulled out of the Olympics, and then Toronto, and then the Cincinnati. And I'm thinking, okay, well, I've seen him take a lot of time off before to just give his body a rest, but this is weird. And then we just kind of didn't hear anything. And then a couple things came out. We saw him at the FC Basel match where he was just sitting there, and I think there was a little interview afterwards where he came out and he said, in quote, "I haven't done anything for a long time because of my knee. After Wimbledon, I had to let everything sink in first. It's hard. At the moment, everything is still a little certain. I'm meeting with my team next week." And that was like, oh boy, something's like, I don't know if we're seeing Fed at the US Open, which was just depressing. And then also the video came out where he's playing ping pong. And that, to me, that video where he was just playing ping pong instead of obviously doing anything on a tennis court, just I posted on our Instagram at the Slice Tennis, Federer is not playing the U.S. Open. I just knew somehow something wasn't going right. Wasn't enough communication. Hadn't seen him on a court in the month since Wimbledon. And then he breaks the news where he's going to get another surgery, and this one is not like a little arthroscopic procedure, but this one seems to be a much bigger one, like probably some type of like knee reconstruction in some way, like totally like maybe doing a repair of like, I don't know if it's like a meniscus or ACL, MCL, but it's big. He said he'll be on crutches for weeks and he'll be out for months. So that's just depressing. It's just depressing because you're like, we all love seeing Federer play. He's arguably the greatest champion tennis has ever seen, and he's just changed the game in so many ways. And he brings people out who don't even like tennis to watch him because of the way he plays, and we just haven't seen that as much as we want to in this last year. We're just not going to see it for the rest of the year, and tennis is just not the same without Federer. So this isn't breaking news. I needed to take a few days to kind of like bring all the information together and like really sit with it, but it's just obviously really sad for him. You could see in his announcement the pain in his eyes, kind of talking about it. And that just communicates how, he's probably feeling, because he loves playing tennis. People are just probably some people will probably wonder, why doesn't he just retire? He's won 20 slams. He's done everything there is to do in tennis. But it's because for love of the game that he's still playing. And that's an amazing thing to watch. And he said, through your fans, some of you guys suffer with me. And that's definitely true. Federer's fans are around the world and are crazy for him. So they'll be suffering with him through this recovery. Many months being out, what does that recovery look like? Australian Open 2022. That seems likely to me. That's 5 months away. Or is it Wimbledon? But I guess, I think he wants to do another full season and get another. And if he's going to do this big surgery, he's going to feel like he can get more and play more. And I think his level's obviously there. When he's feeling good, he just easily got to the quarterfinals and the fourth round of the French Open with playing no tennis basically before that. So it's funny though, because we said this bet at the beginning of 2020 when he did the arthroscopic knee surgeries. I said he wouldn't be doing these surgeries if he didn't believe he could win more. So, but he's now older. He's 40, just turned 40. Happy birthday, Raj, by the way. So it's just getting harder and harder. And that's just a sucky thing for the tennis fans to see Federer, one of the greats, going out like that for the rest of 2021. Anyways, similarly, Rafa Nadal revealed that he's basically been playing injured or with a lot of pain through the whole last year, through all of 2021, which includes the French Open 2021, where he obviously lost to Djokovic. He told us in Toronto that after the French Open, he wasn't able to practice for weeks because of how much pain his foot was having. So, yeah, he wasn't great in Washington. He lost in the second round there, and then he pulled out of Toronto after showing up thinking he could play, and then he ended up now pulling out of the U.S. Open, ending his season. So it seems like there's just too much pain, and it doesn't go away quickly, and there's nothing really he can do. It's this Mueller-Weiss syndrome that, if you didn't know, he's had ever since 2005, which he just reminded us of, where they didn't think he could continue being a professional tennis player, but he's able to fight through a lot of pain in his career, a lot of discomfort. But this year seems to be worse for whatever reason, and he doesn't seem to be able to get through it. So he thinks taking the rest of the season off will help him come back and feel better. But the question is now, it's will it come back? Will he feel better? Is it just like an age thing that it's getting worse? I don't know. But again, very depressing for Rafa fans to not be able to see their man, our man. We all love, who doesn't love Rafa Nadal to play and play his best? Obviously, we want to be able to see him play at his full health, but we just can't do that right now because he can't play because it's too much pain. The Spanish fighting bull. He always fights and he always pushes through pain, but at some point it just catches up with you. So with Federer and Nadal, it's like, is this the end where time is catching up with these great champions and their bodies are breaking down? They just can't do it anymore. They're taking time off now to come back stronger because they don't want to give up yet, which is just amazing to see. But it is sad for us to watch them have to go through this. And like they said, the fans do suffer with them. And then Dominic Thiem, which is kind of a different story because he's way younger than these guys. He's like literally 10 years younger than, more than 10 years younger than Federer. His wrist basically just exploded in Mallorca. Like, obviously it was it's a really sensitive area, the wrist, playing tennis. So if anything is a little wrong in there and it keeps getting aggravated, obviously that could be super worrisome. The really scary thing is he just took 6 to 7 weeks wearing a brace, and then as he tried to start practicing again, he said he felt the same pain. So it's like, what do you do? That's got to be so frustrating. He already had a tough year before that, just not feeling like mentally in it, and then he was a little bit injured at the beginning of the year, I think, as well. So now he's not going to be able to defend his U.S. Open title, which again is super depressing. Like, to me, Dominic Thiem, outside of the big three, when they were at their best, uninjured, he was the most electric player on tour and the best out of the next-gen players because he was kind of in that medium level there. He won a Grand Slam. He'd been to 4 Grand Slam finals. He was like out on any given day on a hard court, he was the best player in the world. And just to see him be out like this in the prime of his career, the absolute prime of his career, is just devastating because you're like, well, he just took 6 to 7 weeks. What, he's going to take like 4 months without hitting a ball and then come back? And you just always are scared if that injury is going to happen again. So that's just super sad. So really, this video is just a sad video. There's no real like funny or happy part about this video. It's just an update on what I've heard from these guys' injuries. Obviously, the stars we all love. They're going to hopefully come back in 2022 and can play to the best of their abilities. That would be amazing. I think tennis is just in a way better spot if that can happen. There's way more competition. It's a way stronger field. But right now, people are saying, these injuries, they all leave the doors open for Djokovic to win his 21st slam at the U.S. Open. I think that's true in some ways. I mean, Nadal hasn't beaten Djokovic on a hard court, I think, since like 2013, like in any hard court. So I don't know if that was really going to happen at this year's U.S. Open. Federer hasn't been healthy since, basically 2019. So if he was healthy, it would be, I think he would have a shot. But again, Djokovic is much younger, he's much more in his prime right now. Thiem, if he was healthy, would be, I think, Djokovic's arguably biggest threat at this point. But again, he hasn't played good all year, so we didn't really know. Djokovic will have his hands full with Medvedev, Zverev, Tsitsipas at that tournament, and he'll have to beat them if he wants to do it. He's obviously the favorite, but this video is mainly about Federer, Nadal, Thiem. Unfortunately, having an end of their seasons soon. Why don't you guys leave a comment below wishing your favorite players good luck in the recovery, hoping, let us know what you think they can do, what their injuries can come, how they can get over it, and just let us know below. We will see you guys in the chat below. Thank you for supporting The Slice. Make sure you hit the subscribe button, like this video if you did, and share it to a friend who needs an update on the news regarding Federer, Thiem, and Nadal. We'll see you guys next time here on the channel. Check out our Twitter and our Instagram for daily updates on what's going on in tennis. Next week, we're in Winston-Salem. Right now, we're in Cincinnati. But this has been an update on the injuries of some of the biggest stars in tennis. We'll see you next time.